Ba 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 ba. Okay, cool. Hey guys, so just going to be recording a quick tutorial for you today. I'm actually in Snowdonia at the minute, just on a little holiday, so had a little bit of time between some client work. I'm actually working remotely at the minute, but I'm just going to do this tutorial as a warm-up. Basically, all I'm going to be doing is just painting a study of this screen cap from Blade Runner 2049. Always loved this shot. It's just perfect in my opinion. I always loved images that are mostly dark, but just with some ambient lighting, and especially if it's like a cyberpunk cityscape vibe. So yeah, enjoy. I'm just going to get stuck in. I'm not going to be using any color picker on this one, because in my opinion, how are you going to learn how to use color if you're just constantly using the color picker tool from photos? You need to make it more difficult for yourself in order to learn. So I'd say it's around about in this bluey green region, and the darks are quite saturated as well. So I'm going to start by putting my canvas and changing it to that colour, maybe a little bit more blue, a little bit lighter, that'll do. And then I'm going to use this cloud brush. This is a bit of a cheap brush, but I'll allow it. And then I'm just going to put in the large shapes that I can see. So obviously you've got this big dark shape here in the foreground. Always start with a big brush and then zoomed right out as well. And then, yeah, that'll do. We've got this light bluish colour here for the background. And then there's like a mid-tone. That's quite saturated actually. Mid-tone for the ground, maybe even more saturated, a little bit more lighter. You see, I'm just making small adjustments just so it matches my reference up there. And then it gets darker as it recedes into the background. And I want to keep changing the hue here, so you have nice colour variation. That's how you get that realism. There is a little Photoshop cheat. So if you go brush settings and then, colour dynamics, and then turn on the hue jitter, that will subtly change the shift in hue. Hue McGrew every time you do a brush stroke. So then you get that nice colour variation that we love. Right. Let's work this in. Not very good at speaking while working at the same time, so I might start to mumble, but I'll try my best not to. So just getting these big shapes in, lots of straight lines coming down, and then it slowly recedes to get lighter as the background starts to form. So here I might change to a good old round brush. That's also a little bit of a cheap brush as well, but I'll allow it. So we've got a real light saturated bluey green there on that neon sign. So that'll be a good thing to put in, because you can, it doesn't have to be completely accurate to the reference, but you could do little visual markers just so you know. So if I put that in as well, that's a nice little visual marker for our composition, so we don't get lost. And then let's do this, the white light of the truck here as well. And then in a second I'll put in my little Ryan Gosling Great film, this. The cinematography alone is just insane. Absolute masterpiece. A lot of people say it's quite slow paced, but that is the point of Blade Runner. It's not supposed to be in your face entertainment. You actually have to think about it, and just it's just that atmospheric, you'd call it. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but in my opinion, it's absolute masterpiece. And plus, it's done by the same director, Dennis. I can't remember his surname. Something French. He did one of my favourite films, Dune. So, obviously, I'm going to love this film. Right, let's get this yellowish light. Following the perspective line. That's a good marker for perspective right there. Coming down that way. Dois. Right, let's switch brush. One of my favourite brushes is this one. It's got a nice traditional look to it. And then we'll do colour dynamics as well. Just so we get that nice colour variation. Let's put in our little Ryan Gosling. It's about here. A bit darker. Nice little silhouette. Just be rough as hell at this stage. This raincoat coming down there. Other arm. And there's also some people in the background, but I won't do them just yet. Just painting what you see. You can start colour picking from your palette that you've already made now. That's not cheating. Using the colour picker is not cheating, but like I said, like the only way to learn certain things, like being able to see where a colour, like to be able to tell where a colour is on the selector here, is to just do it without colour picking for as much as possible, and then that allows you to select better colour in your personal work as well. You don't want to be reliant on tools. Even though obviously I'm using a digital medium here, I know I could also do this traditionally if I wanted to, because of the fact I'm not using that many tools when I'm working. Making it a bit hard for myself, so I learn. It's always tempting to use all the tools we have, but trust me, you've got to limit yourself if you want to get better. You need to create some sort of resistance. Right, so that's like the window there, it's kind of like a more yellowy. Maybe. So what I like to do, I kind of paint and go, yeah, that's about right. And then you just make little slow adjustments as you go. I'd say it's a little bit more cooler. That's better. And then let's make that silhouette of the truck a little bit darker. I mean, I love paintings like this, like scenes like this, because, you know, that's just a square, but you know it's a truck. It's more suggested than just obvious. I like like these atmospheric kind of scenes where not everything is obvious, but you kind of almost decide for yourself what you're seeing. It's just nice. These are the funnest paintings to create as well. If I had my way, I'd just do stuff like this all the time. But obviously you've got to do do what the client needs. But when it comes to personal work, it's always going to be stuff like this for me. Right, let's do those red dots as well. So there's one there. There's one there. I'll put one there as well. As I say, it doesn't have to be accurate. This is the fun thing. I mean, that's not accurate, but you can tell it's a study of this scene. But all you're doing, you're just concentrating on the lighting. That's the thing you want to get accurate. The lighting, perspective, basically the fundamentals. But the placement of objects in the scene, it doesn't matter too much. Change the hue, darken that bit up there a little bit. Same with there. Let's get that round brush again. Trying to be as quick and as loose as possible with this as well. So I'm going to use a little tool here. So let's use some color dodge. So change the brush setting to color dodge. Turn the opacity and the flow right the way down. And then we're going to make these lights pop. A bit more yellow. See that? It's cool, isn't it? Make that pop. Yeah, so I'm just in Snowdonia at the minute. I climbed Mount Snowdon yesterday. Just got back from the gym this morning. And as I say, I'll be doing client work while I'm away as well. Just kind of starting to toy around with the digital nomad lifestyle. I want to go off to Southeast Asia again soon and then work out there. So this is just a little taster of that for me. Just up North Wales. So far so good. Actually working really well. I think I'm producing some of my best work. I think just a change of scenery is really helpful, you know. Especially when you're an artist, because we're fussy types. I can't work in these conditions. See, that's looking pretty cool already. Got most of the information. Can start moving into the detail phase soon. So let's zoom in on our reference as well a little bit. Get some details in. How do I move that down? Like that. Come on. Keep losing the arrow. That's it. Ding ding ding. Right. Back to this brush. Let's just work in some values. And when you hear me say values, just talking about light and dark. So you're just concentrating on light and dark. Obviously we have the colour palette already established. So it's just working on the lights and the shadows, or darks, or whatever you want to call it. Turn the opacity back up on that. Let's get in these window frames. Also trying not to use the straight line tool. I want to try and get the lines straight by hand, because again that's just building up that muscle memory. You'll just become a better draftsman, a better painter if you just refrain from using tools if possible. Really I'm just using Photoshop as the canvas and my tablet as my drawing tool. People might not agree with that, but it's just what's always worked for me. I've always loved traditional art, so I wanted to maintain that aspect of traditional with my work and keep my skills grounded in traditional methods. You know, I use 3D and You know, I do a bit of 3D animation. I use a lot of 3D in my work, but I feel like I've earned the right to do that because I've learnt the hard way. And then when you know the fundamentals, like from a traditional background, it really does help when you're using stuff like 3D tools, for example, because you just have an all-in-all better understanding of the fundamentals: composition, value, color, perspective, and it just helps. You can tell when someone doesn't know their fundamentals straight away. And you ain't gonna get hired as an artist if you don't know your fundamentals. Guarantee that. Because the art directors know their stuff as well. And they will be able to spot a blagger a mile off. Right. Start to work in that silhouette a bit better. Actually, just work on the light and dark a little bit more first. Sometimes I start to whisper when I'm painting because I'm concentrating. I don't know why, it just happens. And I'll stick my tongue out and make stupid noises as well. Don't know why. I love how all that implied in the background there. It's just implied that it's a dense cityscape. Bit of purple light coming out there. Let's set that in. That's cool. Nice colour variation. Nice. Nice, 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 nice. Get that edge. Work on this truck a little bit more. I need to bring up the light behind the truck a little bit more as well. Bring out that silhouette. Boom! Pop! Pop that shit. Yeah, to me this is just really enjoyable. Very satisfying. Just doing little studies like this. It's just good practice as well. Are these people on motorbikes? I can't remember. But it's funny, just those little squiggles I've just done now, your eye just goes, yeah, that's a person. It's just amazing. It's just a squiggle, but your brain and your eye just goes, yeah, sod it. I guess that's a person just because of the silhouette. Don't have to have any detail whatsoever. Just have the basics. Show the legs and some arms and a head. An instant person. Alright, let's just straighten that up a little bit. I might even put some photo textures of a city backdrop. Little cheat, but I'll allow it. Is that going to be my catchphrase? I'll allow it. Get those roof lights in there. There's a yellow light just there. Get that in there. Get it in there, boy. It's more of a white like that, isn't it? Let's imply these little dots, little squiggles. Just implying some high-rise buildings in the background there. It's all implied. Right, I'm going to use a smudge brush now. Well, this is the mixer brush, so we can kind of get that cool smudgy effects going. Oh, train's just gone by. And this needs sorting out. Boom. Nice. Get more of a yellowish light around here. It's very quick, working incredibly quick here. Again, it's just for practice. Not really bothered about detailing the hell out of it. Just practicing being able to observe light and shadow and composition and perspective and the rest of it. Just observing the fundamentals of an image. Start building this up a little bit more. Where's my cloud brush? This is a good brush set, the Darken brush set. Darken's one of my favourite artists. He did a lot of work for Magic the Gathering. Has got some fantastic tutorials on Gumroad. If I remember, I'll link these in the description of the video. Instant cloud, love it. Or smog, or whatever you want to call it. Right, I'm going to call that end of part 1, and then we'll continue this later.